And welcome back. We're here in Las Vegas. You're here in manifestingyourdreams.net. We're having an amazing conversation. A lot of things I didn't know. We're learning. I wish I could be taking notes. So if you're not taking notes, grab a pen, grab some paper, or maybe get your notes on your phone and start typing, because some of the things you're going to hear today are going to change the way you think about your goals. They're going to change the way about how you approach them. So we're here with Jeff and Marvin. And I didn't know this about Marvin. I met Marvin maybe 20 years ago, something like that. It was really an incredible situation. He actually didn't know he spoke perfect Spanish. He traveled all over the world. And it was really nice to see the work he has done in the Latin communities worldwide. And now his life goes around, right? We're here again. He just arrived maybe less than 2 hours ago.
Some attractive forces.
Some attractive forces were in place, right? He just arrived into Las Vegas. And here's in our studio just talking and sharing some of the things he's done. So why don't you share some of the things that you actually, as a young man, learn about manifesting and how our viewers can benefit from that?
I think one of the things that was really interesting, I think always I grew up as one of these people who was very purpose-driven. I wanted to do something good in my life. I soon found out being in government wasn't necessarily the way that you do that.
Right.
So I ended up being what is called a performance auditor, where I would go in and look at the efficiency and effectiveness of different government operations. I was really popular, you can imagine, when you're finding problems.
Oh, I can imagine that. They love you, right? They love you.
And you're pointing them out to people. Yeah, I remember walking down the state capitol hallways with the other group of auditors, because we always stayed together because nobody else wanted
to talk to you, right?
So we would walk down the halls of the Capitol building and doors would start literally slamming. We kind of laughed, but it was sort of also like, nobody likes us. So I ended up getting pretty good at what I was doing. And I was hired by county government to come in and look at something, and they had never had any oversight. Anybody from the outside, it was one political party. They had nobody from the outside who had ever done any kind of review. And I found out that two of the county commissioners and the county attorney were funneling money from a mental health program into their own pockets.
Huh.
And they had stolen about $5 million. And they cut the funding to my program. I actually reported to them. They cut the funding to my program.
They didn't like that you followed that, right?
It. And then I continued to report the information to the press. And one day, as I was driving home, a bullet came through the window of my little pickup truck.
God.
And as the bullet shattered the glass, I began to pat my chest because I'd never been shot and I didn't know what it felt like. And I had no idea. But I had a sudden paradigm shift.
I can imagine that.
This was not the way to do something that was really going to bless the world.
Oh my God.
So this friend of mine, who was my mentor that I mentioned, the Cheryl Hill, he happened to call me up and asked me if I would be interested in coming and working with him. And it was the first time, honestly, that I'd ever heard the term network marketing before, really. And you can imagine, I came from a world where everything was very black and white. The auditing world. Everything was either correct or incorrect, either right or wrong.
Right.
And to me, network marketing was like, is that one of those pyramid scheme things? And I had no idea what it was. But what I learned from that process is that where I thought I was getting involved in something where I was going to bless the lives of the world, I actually wasn't blessing the lives of the world.
You were attracting bullets.
I was attracting bullets.
That's not the right attraction,
was
right?
Not what I wanted to do. But I had the opportunity through this experience to change my life. And I had a profound experience that did it, where I really found what my purpose is in life. And I was in Tijuana, Mexico. And I ran a series of warehouses for this particular company. And a woman came into the warehouse. And she was a beautiful lady, but she was very poor. You could tell from the way that she was dressed. Her hair braided, wore very handmade clothes and handmade shoes that were kind of makeshift. Came to find out that she lived in a little hut that was maybe, maybe 10 feet by 10 feet, if even that. That would be big. And it was made out of tin with a cardboard roof.
Oh boy.
And she lived in that with her children, her 5 children, and her husband. And this woman showed up in my warehouse and she said, could you consign me some product in Spanish? And actually, kind of poor Spanish, to be very honest. She had never stepped foot inside of a schoolhouse her entire life. Literally one of these people that kind of come out of the dust of life and learn how to pick themselves up and dust themselves off and do something. And this is what this woman did. She came in and she taught me an incredible lesson. She came in and she was so determined that she was going to make her life better and that this was the right way to do it.
Wow.
That she came in and she said, yeah, but could you consign me some product? Once again, I explained, we don't do that. That's not how our business model works. And then I thought to myself, you know what? I have 2 boxes of product in the back of my warehouse that are going to expire. And I can either just throw them away or I'll give them to her. So I gave them to her. She took those 2 boxes of product and her husband built her a little wooden hand cart type of thing that she went from door to door, knocking on the door because the product was kind of a heavy liquid. It was a juice. It was the aloe vera juice. And she would go door to door knocking and selling this product. I just happened to be back in this warehouse 2 weeks later. Now that's not always the case. I wasn't always in the same places. I was traveling around doing a lot of things. But she happened to be there. And she brought all of the money in.
Wow.
And she purchased more product. And she signed up because one of our very smart distributors that was standing there thought, oh, this might be a good person. I'll sign her up. Signed her up. I watched this woman learn how to read and write, both English and Spanish. Never had set foot inside of a school in her entire life. She built a business. I watched her buy a car for her family. Actually, she earned it. She bought a house for her family. She continued to build her business in Mexico, then went across the border into San Diego area and continued to build her business on both sides of the border, going back and forth building her business. It was a remarkable thing to watch, and this doesn't always happen, but 5 years from the time when she first stepped foot in that warehouse to when this event occurred, she had won a contest for the company. And by winning this contest, I presented her with a check for $165,000
Wow.
on the stage of the Fiesta Americana Hotel in Tijuana, Mexico.
Wow.
And it changed my life. I remember I actually started crying because I thought to myself, I gave this woman 2 boxes of product that was really basically garbage that I was going to throw away. And this woman was so determined to pull herself up out of the dust of life that she did something with it. And she turned her entire life around. And in that year, she earned more than most medical doctors in the United States earned in an entire year. A woman who had never set foot inside of a school in her entire life, had never had anybody show that. And I learned something. I learned that we can really have the impact. If you have that desire, you can find the way that as you lift other people, you lift yourself. And that was the important lesson that she taught me. That you don't have to, it doesn't have to be that you do it through the typical ways that we always think that we have to do it, through getting education or getting the right kind of job or doing it through government or whatever it is. If we teach people how to live their dream, that they can have a dream, that they can make that dream a manifested reality, then they do it. And I've watched a person that you would never in your life imagine would be able to do what she did.
That is so powerful. I'm like speechless. Incredible. And that story is so inspiring because it shows you that it doesn't matter where you are today. It doesn't matter what your situation is. It doesn't matter where you came from. It doesn't matter if, number one, you have that desire, because that's what she wanted. She had, and we talked about desire a couple of weeks ago, strong desire to make a change in her life for her and for her 5 children, right?
And she blessed my life
absolutely
with that strong burning desire that she had to make a change.
Absolutely, and she instilled in you a belief that anybody could really do what they want.
She changed my life.
Yeah.
It changed my life completely. So I've dedicated my entire life to this for the past 30 years.
That's amazing. That's totally amazing. And you know one of the things that happen nowadays, we talk to people and they say, oh, I want to do this, but they're waiting for things to be perfect, right? They're waiting for everything to have the right equipment, to have this and that. and then 3 years later they haven't started yet, right? So if there's one lesson in that story, is like you need to start wherever you are. Take a step forward.
You could not be more correct. You could not be more on point with what I see. Is that people want to use excuses for all of the reasons why something doesn't work. They don't look for why it does.
Or why it could.
Or why it should.
Or why it should, right? Amazing. Incredible. So just wherever you are, pick up one thing that you could do. Because she could have said, well, I'm not going to go there. They're going to tell me no, right? So it's just like she went for it and she had no idea
and all
what
she
you
had
were going to
all
say.
she had was a smile, literally. All she had was a smile on her face.
Exactly. Exactly. That's fantastic. That's an incredible story. And just imagine 5 years later where you could be if you take an action today, right? And then at the same time, you connect with the right people because she connected with the right people, right?
So it's taken me all over the world. It's given me a lifestyle. I've lived in many different countries. I've had an opportunity to meet people from all over the place, from both upper class and lower class, and I learned that people are all pretty much the same, really, if they're humble enough. Actually, I prefer the humble ones,
right?
The ones who have too much, because they're just beautiful. And so you learn to love humanity. You learn that you are part of humanity. We are together something that when we can combine our burning desires, become a force that cannot be contended with.
It's amazing. It's powerful. We're all resourceful. So think about it. There's one thing that we have is our resourcefulness, right? So there's whatever we want to move forward, there's somebody or something that can help us get there. So share one thing that you learned from Cheryl that maybe when you were young that really made a difference.
You know, he used to quote the story, the poem from Alice in Wonderland called Jabberwocky. Have you ever heard that? You remember that?
I don't remember that, but
go and pull it up and read it.
okay.
I should have had it memorized, but probably thousands of times I've heard it. I should have memorized it. But the focus really is on realizing that who you are and that you are so much more than what you believe that you are.
Wow.
And if you can just simply open your mind to the possibilities of who you are, it's a powerful, powerful story.
That is powerful. And one thing I learned is like if you don't believe in yourself, find somebody who does. Find somebody that has a little bit higher belief in you than you do. So we're going to be right back. And you're here to manifest in your dreams. And we're really having a lot of fun. And my mind is expanding already all the things that we can do. Hopefully the same thing is happening to you. We'll be right back.